Hey everyone, I'm going to be doing like a vlog today. It's going to be on, how to sort of optimize yourself, how to remove things that are limiting you. And it's an important one today because I'm going to be talking about something that I'm actually going through right now. And I didn't kind of want to do it because it kind of makes me look like, I suppose, that I don't know what I'm doing. But the thing about this work is that it's just a continual sort of balancing and refining. And at the moment, I'm going a little bit through the desert, and that's sort of an expression whereby we sort of lose ourselves. And you become very alone. You're in the desert, and you've lost all your sort of points of reference because you don't know who you are anymore. I've been there a while, and I've just this morning became aware of a behavior that was clouding or influencing me in every aspect of my life, and I found that by first of all doing a lot of work on myself. And you kind of get deeper and deeper, and you find sort of, I used the analogy yesterday, like you go really deep, you find a dinosaur, like a huge truth. And so it would seem like the more you do this, the better it sort of, the less you find. But it's kind of reverse. The more you do this, the deeper you go, you kind of find fundamental operating system level things. And I wanted to just talk about that today, in terms of what I was experiencing, in case that is useful for anyone out there. So, you might be going, oh, what's Rob talking about? And you might log off now, and that's fine. Whoever's supposed to hear this will hear this. So there's a compounding effect of work that's done, and it speeds up, and you start to find more and more things that are in your psyche of the humanity's sort of decentralized mind. There's everything in there. And so when I work with clients, I'm getting a reflection back of some of the things inside myself. And I've noticed that some of the clients I've been having have been mirroring back at me things very strongly. And so yesterday I had quite a couple of very sort of powerful sessions, went very deep very quickly on clients, went very deep to one of the clients into sort of fundamentally it was the answer to all of his problems. So found the truth. Now the moment he realized that, it's part of the process, and now he has to observe how that plays out in his reality, or how that behavior acts. So this morning I woke up and I've been observing a behavior which is around gain on one side and loss on the other. And also that's made me become aware of sort of living and dying, or achieving or not achieving, success, failure. And so usually if we have an issue with one area, we're polarized. On one side is down, one side's up, or one side is strong and one side is weak, 1 and 0. And what I've realized is that on the succeeding, optimization, etc., I was weak, but definitely succeeding. And the failing, the energy is strong. And this morning, it's sort of I realized just how much of everything that I was doing was being perceived by, am I failing or am I succeeding? So when we become aware of these behaviors, which are not us, they're sort of parasitic, feeding themselves, we see it everywhere. We see all of our behaviors, and that's part of the process of dissolving it. So for instance, let's say you were asking, but how do you see these behaviors? You start to become aware of an emotion, or the emotions, or the talk that's going on inside your head. So this morning, yesterday I had some news about somewhere where I'm looking to move to. We had a house that was we were going to rent for a year, a really nice place. And I found out through a friend that the person sold it, so I'd lost that house. Now, at first I was like, oh yeah, it's just it's meant to be. But as I observed myself very quietly around that, I felt some sadness. So what I did was I started to observe, why am I sad around that? It doesn't, it's just we find another house. But the logical mind's going, yeah, you just find another house. But what the behaviors show themselves a bit like smoke with their emotions, and that's like their way of it's a little bit like Predator, when there's a glitch in his camouflage, and you start to perceive it because it doesn't want to be seen. So I started to see, I'm like, why am I sad? And then it sort of dawned on me, like oftentimes in the night you'll have the unconscious will start to give you more information. So this morning I woke up and I realized that I'm perceiving it as a failure. I'm not succeeding, and there's a sadness or disappointment. So again, it comes back to this. For me personally, you might be completely the other way around, but for me, success and all those words around succeeding and what that means, the energy is very weak, and the opposite, failure, is strong energetically. So I know failure. I like to sort of move my thinking over there and like feel sorry for myself. And also I've noticed a pattern. Let's say I start succeeding, and this is if you look back and see the footprints in the snow or whatever in your life, you'll start to see where you've made decisions based on this. So I have experiences in my life where I gained, so gain and loss, success, failure. Yeah, I've gained huge success and I sabotaged it at the height. When I was at Chelsea, this is just the truth. It's kind of, I suppose it's a little bit embarrassing, but it's truthful. I been there quite a while, and with the new build, I was given like a prehab rehabilitation gym to be in charge of as head of injury prevention, strength and conditioning. That was my title. And I'd been given like a prevention lab, and there I could just put in whatever I wanted. And I was really progressing nicely with that analysis and working out who was more likely to get injured through like analysis of posture, movement, posturology, and other things I was working on. And I was also in charge of the whole downstairs gymnasium, strength and conditioning. So in terms of my role, I'd been given great importance. So I didn't see it at the time, but I could, because success was weak, I couldn't see that success, and I resigned. So I gained all of this, and then at the height, I wasn't able to deal with it on a deeper level, and I perceive everything through, I'm failing, and I resigned. And I can look back in my life and see that on so many different occasions that it's controlled my behavior, and so I don't want that anymore, because I want the truth. I want freedom. So this morning, I became aware that I'm looking at everything through this success and failure lens, and what that means is, let's say I see everything through. I'm not seeing everything through success, although I'm like, oh, will this make me successful? Will this supplement make me successful? I'm going to do this to make me successful. But my lens is on the other side. Let's say blue, which is kind of sad color. I can look at things, and because I'm jammed up, I see everything blue, when in fact I want to be neutral. And this is just a game. These are all games. So for instance, I've got this plan. I want to build sort of a Bitcoin community, free schooling, homesteading type project somewhere. And that's just I know that that's just a game. You create whatever you want in life. It's just a game. It doesn't mean it. If you're doing it to change the world, you're not going to change the world. It's just a game while we're here. But because I was seeing everything through failure and success, I was like, oh, I really want that. but I don't really think I'll do it. I don't think I'm capable. I'm a failure. Okay, and then the energy that builds is like I start to feel good, and then I start not to feel as sort of fit, and I pick up colds and things just because the energy. If you think about that, it's like damp wood. You can't get a spark. You want to be creative, but everything's dark, damp and wet, and so that dampens your hormones, thyroid. So kind of just giving you an overview. But now I've seen it. Now it's already started to change the way I'm seeing this project and other things. So it's not all gone. I'm observing what's coming up. And there's no commentary from me. I'm not saying, oh, well, you've done pretty well at that, or that sadness or anything. I'm just observing like the thoughts that come up. If I react and try and make myself successful, or react and try and move away from this failure feeling, then I just create more behavior. And that traps me like a goldfish in a goldfish bowl in the sea. It wants to swim, but the behavior is invisible, but it traps us, and it kind of pretends, it makes out that it's freeing us. It's anyway, this is a vlog. I'm just talking about what's coming up for me. So what am I going to do? So once I've stopped this, I'm going to just go for a walk, go to the park, or walk around the house, and just I want to get to know this behavior, and that needs me to be quite quiet or very, very alert, definitely very alert, because when I'm interacting with people is when the behavior is more likely to show. So I can go and be very quiet. I could go and sit down and meditate. However, it's going to show itself more in my work. When I'm living, that's when it'll show itself. And so I can also force it a little bit to show itself by thinking about that house that's gone, thinking about that project, because that project is kind of triggering me a little bit on the success and achieving side. Then I can feel the fear coming up. So kind of fundamentally, the triad, or the base emotions that humans have, or all humans have, are despair. Sort of over on that side for me, excuse me, I keep touching this mic. Over on that side, there's fear, and there's pleasure seeking. So most times we don't want to feel despair, so we distract ourselves from it and seek pleasure. But that is a trap, and then we feel fear, and that we're not achieving, or blah, 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 and then we feel despair, and then we go and look for the pleasure. We go seek pleasure, but the pleasure afterwards is pain, despair, and then fear that we're nobody type thing. So those type of emotions are very, I'm observing those, and when a thought comes up from the past, like, one thought that just came up for me now was, once was having a chat with Paul Check. I was doing some coaching with him years ago, and he said, he was talking about this game, like so he said you create a car. The moment you've created it and you put it out to sell, it starts to rust, immediately starts to decay. So you create, and then it starts to decreate, or go back to the soil, so to speak. So he said, we're here to create, and then once you've created it, you're full. So you have an empty feeling and you want to create something, then you create it and you're full, and then that starts to decay, and then you go on and create something else. That's just why we're here. We're here to resolve things, and create is the game. So I understand that. And what he said to me was, when you got the job at Chelsea, did you celebrate? I was like, no. It really struck me that, in fact, I'd achieved so much in that job, but all I saw was failure. And because I couldn't see any other way, it was how it was. And so if you never celebrate, it's because you're not able to see the success. And so I look back in my life and see what I've succeeded at. And really, in the past, all I've been able to see are my failures. Whenever I look back, I'd see, I failed at that, I failed at that. And I was never able to see the positive, the successes. And so now when I look back, I can feel already a difference, and my mind is able to see the successes. I'm not trying to. I can just feel it coming up like, wow, I did that, or I did that. And I can also see the times I've sabotaged and the failures that I perceived, which weren't really failures. And I can see that behavior at school where I I just didn't get it. But I succeeded at rugby. But I remember, this thought came up this morning, I got trials for Eastern Counties rugby. And that the week before I was about to, gain something, I lost, I injured my knee, ripped all the ligaments in my knee. And I had so many times, like I tried to make it as a professional athlete in triathlon, and I was doing really well. And I remember clearly I was at the European Championships in Quimper, and there was a big field, like 2,000 people. And I set off with the pros. I wasn't pro, but we were like semi-pro team in Quimper. And I remember there was Rob Burrell was next to me, who's an world-class pro, and he helped zip up my wetsuit, and I was like, wow. And the whole season, like I was sort of hoping to explode that season onto the scene. And at the beginning of the season, someone had swapped my wetsuit. I bought a new wetsuit and I hadn't realized. And so I'd been swimming for like 6 races with a wetsuit that was too big for me, like 6 sizes. But it was inevitable, right? Because I was jammed up on success. So I'm swimming like as hard as I could, and I was finishing like 40th and just blown up. And I was just blaming myself. I'm a failure. And then this pro at the club said to me, your wetsuit's way, way, way too big. He said, you're crazy. When you're swimming, you've got a big, like a dustbin bag behind you. So you're actually swimming again, and you're holding a big dustbin bag when you're swimming, full of water. So it's like a break, you see. So I'm thinking about that, and just that story. He said, take my wetsuit, I'll lend you one of my wetsuits, which was super tight, like this shark fin material. And I got that the race before the European Championships, and I came out of the water 4th. And in the European Championships, swimming against pros, everyone was a big pro field. I came out of the water and I was in the top, I was like 8th out of the water, which, I've been struggling, but that was like, oh my God, like, can I be a success here? And I got on my bike, which wasn't my strongest aspect, and so I lost a few places, but not that much. But on my run, I was, like my times were pro level, so I knew I'd catch everyone, not everyone, but most. And I started off running, and then as I'm running, I got this cramp, freezing cold cramp in my stomach, and that was it. I gave up. I was like, I'm not another. So I just kept getting loads of things stopping me from succeeding, which is inevitable because of my behavior. The behaviors control us. And so there was like, I'm going to succeed. And then I get this cramp out of the blue. And yeah, you could say, well, why didn't you persevere? But I just had, just so many things come up, and then I just gave up. And when I gave up, I reinforce my behavior that I'm a failure. Yeah. So I can look through pretty much every life event and see this behavior as being the controlling factor. So now that's interesting. I don't blame myself. I just observe that, and it's sort of like a house of cards tumbling. And so all of my ideas about who I am and who I was, and now just I can feel it just breaking down. And so when I think now, let's say, about creating that homesteading type community, it's not like I'm seeing it so much as like, oh shit, I'm probably going to fail, or oh my god, I'd love to do that because I'll succeed. The lens has gone. So now I'm just the way I'm perceiving it is like, oh, that would be fun. Shall I do it or not? Is it fun? And that's freedom. And the only way you can get to that point is by observing your behavior. If you try and force yourself to succeed, or you're trying to do something because it's you don't want to be seen as a failure, you're going to it's a never ending, you're just going to keep on perceiving yourself as a failure. And I have clients who are, hugely wealthy, like billionaires, who perceive themselves as failures, or not as successes. So I'm just looking at the particular aspect of failure and success, but it can be many different of this duality in the mind that we're polarized on, and therefore not neutral, and therefore we're just going to keep getting one side or the other until we resolve it. And we're here to resolve things. So I'm going to finish up on there. I think that if I look back at this in, say, 10 years, or my children look back at this, I'll be happy that they see that, and see that I was okay to show myself as possibly being a failure, and there's no such thing as failure or success. It's just a constant work for freedom, and freedom comes from the truth, knowing yourself, knowing the truth about your behaviors. And that behavior, I almost kind of see it like the mind is like a ball of the psyche. Is everyone has that. And so this, again, fundamentally is coming from a movement away from centralized mind, which controls us, to self-sovereignty and freedom, which comes from knowing every aspect of yourself, and so that you are free to do what you want in this world while you're here. So I hope you found that I hope that was interesting. That was just my shit. And out of shit, there comes, out of manure, there comes flowers. You just got to go into the shit and look at it and observe it and understand it. And then you will see things, you'll see the wonders and the freedom that comes from it. All right. If you like that, that'd be great. You like the video, it helps me a lot. And then if you have any comments, I always appreciate them, and I'll get straight back to you. All right. Have a great day.